We are here at Everything Electric in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and we have someone on the stand that we're going to talk to in a second about one of the topics that we often talk about here at the channel, which is the question of how to adapt our modern cities to meet the requirements of tackling climate change, of making a more equitable transition into a future in which people have access to public transit, in which people don't need cars as their everyday means of getting around, and in which, well, that's distributed in a way that's fairer. I'm very happy to be joined by Brendon James. If you could just say a little bit about what you do, that would be great.
Thanks, Kate. My name's Brendon. I work for the District of North Vancouver. We're on Vancouver's North Shore, close to the mountains. So we've got a beautiful neighborhood that comprises of some dense town centers where we're increasing density and focusing a lot more walkability, walking to transit and biking infrastructure. And then we also have our neighborhood sprawl and we're looking at doing a lot of changes that are coming down from, the provincial government has quite recently changed some of our housing and zoning rules. So there's big changes to come to our district. We have about 85,000 people that live in our area, and my group is responsible for all of the transportation-related planning, infrastructure, maintaining of our roads, our bike networks, our walking, and also access to transit as well.
And one of the things that we often hear, particularly in our comment section, is people saying, you just need a car. Like, if you live in North America, you need a car to get around. That's one of the really consistent narratives, and it is something that's particularly challenging with the built environment that we have around North America, a lot of which has been built with cars in mind. How are you working towards changing that narrative and shifting the way people move?
Well, I think our neighborhood's quite unique in a number of different ways. We've come from a very car-centric history, and because it's quite an affluent neighborhood, and we've got a wide demographic of people that have chosen to live in North Vancouver. And we also have a geography, we've got a lot of hills, we've got geographical concerns as well. So up until quite recently, before the age of the e-bike, cycling was not as popular as getting around in a normally family car or single occupancy vehicle. And in the last 10 years, we've seen a dramatic shift in sort of like the thinking about how people are getting around. From the municipal standpoint, we're trying to assist those people or our residents in having a lot more options and not really focusing just on the road infrastructure, but also focusing on the cycling network, walking infrastructure, and then improving access to transit, whether it be on a sidewalk level, where we'd be building out curb infrastructure to make it easier for people to walk up to bus stops, or even roll in wheelchairs for people that are mobility challenged. And also to be able to have rapid transit or transit focused in our town centers so that people have the option of not owning a vehicle but can have great connections to other parts of the city through whether it's bus or rapid bus service.
And you mentioned e-bikes in there. I know that one of the most popular forms of electrified transportation is e-bikes, little mobility scooters, things like that. Have you seen a rise in their use?
Yeah, so, in terms of, I always like to reflect that this entire show, the subject matter that we're discussing here today, wouldn't be possible without battery technology. The opportunity for us to walk around with energy in our pockets or attached to a bicycle or a vehicle is just a massive leap in opportunity for people to get around carbon-free. And we've seen a number of different tools and mechanisms introduced by some municipalities and even the province quite lately to be able to incentivize the e-bike movement and get more electric bicycles on the streets. So last year, the province of BC, through the Clean BC program, released an e-bike incentive, which was incredibly popular. It was snapped up within weeks, and that offered a monetary incentive for British Columbia residents to purchase e-bikes and get on the streets on two wheels and leave their vehicles at home. So one of the really awesome things that came from that, as well as studies of other municipalities like the District of Saanich, University of British Columbia did a study on the participants in some of these incentive programs, and had resounding results of people that adopted e-bikes into their daily lives. And they actually found that in many ways electric bikes offered more carbon reduction opportunities than the incentives that we're using for EVs or electric vehicles in this province, which is an incredible finding. So check that out. It was Dr. Alex Bagazi from University of British Columbia, and he is a transportation-focused doctor, and they did an incredible study around that. Maybe you guys want to link this in the credits. There's definitely some amazing findings that are sort of supporting our message, just in the District of North Vancouver, but especially throughout the province, on the benefits that can come from electrification of two wheels.
And with that shift to more people using two wheels, you mentioned some zoning changes. What kind of changes are you needing to make cities more approachable for people who want to cycle or use other mobility solutions?
Well, I think the biggest problem that we face is the rollout of cycling infrastructure in this region has always been quite a hot potato. It's a hot topic because electric vehicle drivers or ICE drivers, they're used to their cars, whether there's one person in the car or four people in the car, but they're hanging on to the notion that the roads are for the vehicles and they cannot be shared with other modes. Part of the thing that we're really focusing on is rolling out other choices and sharing the road space proportionately with walkers, with cyclists, and for vehicles. And in some cases, we might be experimenting with doing some road dieting, narrowing it in sections. And the benefit of that is actually to slow traffic down and to make our sort of multimodal corridors safer for all road users. But we need more rapid implementation of our cycling and walking networks to be able to support this expansion of e-bikes and walking infrastructure to give those other choices to people that can't afford to have a vehicle.
And one of the things we've definitely had on the channel before is people commenting that, I pay my tax, so the road is mine. Is that a situation that you've encountered with people complaining that their car tax, whatever they're paying in whatever form they're doing, is something that they feel they have the right to use that space, and the resistance you get from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, going back to it is a controversial topic. It's so funny. Living in North America, we have so many choices. It's a whole society built on choice, but we're also the first to take the choices away from other people on how they get around. So as a taxpayer, we have heard, in part about, the opposition to rolling out biking infrastructure, and a lot of questioning around why are we doing it, because, maybe there's not a visual realization that the biking infrastructure is being used very well. But the problem is, right now we're in this vicious circle where the biking infrastructure isn't being used very well because people don't necessarily feel safe using the substandard biking infrastructure in some parts of the city. So our main objective is to work with other entities like regional transportation providers like TransLink to roll out AAA infrastructure. So that's for all ages and abilities. And that's separated bike lanes that give, and separated walking infrastructure to give people the best chance, the safest chance to be able to get around quickly and efficiently.
I think that's a really interesting point, because one of the things with the idea of, it's not being used, we get the opposite of that with cars, where people are like, we need to add another lane because it's being used by so many cars. We should add another lane. But all of the evidence that comes out of looking at adding another lane is that it doesn't resolve problems. It actually induces more demand because people go, there's another lane. I could take my car instead of taking the bus. Yeah. And that kind of having the opposite of that with cycling must be kind of frustrating, where people are saying, it's not being used, so we don't need any kind of space.
Yeah. We don't visually see it being used, therefore the normal person or sort of that driver thinks, wow, look at this lovely bike lane because it's empty. But we'll say really positively. This summer has been an incredible turning point in our District of North Vancouver. I've seen more bikes than I've ever seen. So there's a remarkable increase in two wheels in and around our district, not only recreationally, because we are a mountainous region. We've got a lot of great opportunities for mountain biking. And in fact, our neighborhood was the epicenter, or sort of like in many ways the start of downhill mountain biking. So we've got a lot of passionate cyclists, and we also want to really encourage those passionate recreational cyclists to take it to the streets for their day-to-day commute as well. So one of the things that we're also doing at the district is we've actually partnered with an operator to run an e-cargo bike lending program. And we're really focused on utility bikes quite recently. So the e-cargo bike lending program actually is launching today at Lynn Valley Town Centre. We'll have a little event there. And the operator that we're working with is an operator called Evolve. It's a subsidiary of BCAA, which is our automotive association. And Evolve has been operating e-bike share in the micromobility space now for like 3 or 4 different years. They're very well known and have got other municipalities that they're working with just on their regular bike share. But we're launching e-cargo bikes to, trying to appeal to families that might need to take kids to and from school, or take them to hockey practice, or maybe you need a box bike with something on the front where you can load some gear in and be able to freely move things rather than just have your regular conventional e-bike as well. So the lending program is a free program. It is going to be open at our district libraries and some other participating locations, and people can go and borrow an e-cargo bike, a different version of it, like whether it's a box bike or a longtail, for a whole day for free. So they can go book it out, they can try it in their lives and see how it works. And really, we're trying to appeal to those families that are kind of on the fence. Maybe they're interested in making a swap, or maybe they're interested in parking their vehicle for a period of time. This is a great opportunity of try before you buy. Check it out, and see how it works for you.
That's interesting. Are you also expanding that out to, or hoping to expand that out to industrial uses as well, or more commercial uses?
So absolutely. So the initial phase of this program is, it's a pilot essentially. So it's a 2-year pilot. We're really focusing on the residential aspect of it. But with my hopes, working with other entities like Shift Delivery Co-op, for instance, that already have a very well established e-cargo, or like a trike last mile delivery service within the city of Vancouver, we may see more private sector organizations within the District of North Vancouver want to expand their fleets into something that focuses on sort of like a last mile, small scale delivery method. So potentially within the second phase of this program, we could start working with commercial partners to see what the possibilities are for their electric fleets as well.
That would be really interesting, because I know that across Europe we're starting to see a big rise in the use of those commercial e-bikes with a startling amount of load carrying capacity, things that we traditionally would have thought, you need a van for this, you need a lorry for this, and now they're being shifted into e-bikes, which have so much lower footprint, both on the environment, but also on the urban environment. And the way that you live your life, it becomes much quieter without these delivery trucks constantly rolling around. One of the things that you mentioned is the incentives for people to get into e-bikes. What other things are you doing to help that more equitable transition, both in the infrastructure and in availability?
So we're working with provincial partners. Obviously, we work quite closely with the province of BC and the Ministry of Transportation on their programs. And they're running a number of different pilots right now, including like an e-scooter pilot as well, just testing out the e-scooters on the streets and how it relates to our Transportation Act and the Motor Vehicle Act. Obviously, we've got kind of two worlds with that, right? So they're playing catch up in sense where we've got a popular method of transportation, but the Ministry of Transportation doesn't necessarily know where it fits within our mode split. So we're working with those sort of partners to inform them, to provide feedback and data to better inform their rules and essential policy on a provincial level. And then quite locally, we work with a lot of other nonprofit organizations, our school district, and groups like Hub Cycling, which is another nonprofit here, a cycling advocate group. And they help us inform our programs, our cycling infrastructure, the way that some of our infrastructure might be accessible to not only cyclists, but also people with disabilities or mobility challenges. So we're actually really trying to foster an incredible ecosystem of collaboration around this topic, whether it's from an advocate level, whether it's a policy level. And we also do a lot of work with our local bike shops in the District of North Vancouver, whether it's through events and whether it's through trying to help them and connect them on that sort of like policy and infrastructure side as well. We believe everybody's got a voice, and they all want this sort of like micromobility and whether it's bicycle movement to go really far and to supply to increase. We're just trying to get everybody together and make that happen. Yeah.
Well, that's a really great note to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. Can you tell us a little bit more about where people can find out more about these topics from you?
Perfect. So, 100% go and read that incredible study by Dr. Bagazi from UBC. I think that was really interesting. And that was findings from the Saanich e-bike incentive program. And then in terms of our e-cargo bike lending program, head on to dnv.org. So that's the District of North Vancouver, dnv.org, and into our transportation section. And there's going to be a little bit more about that program as well. If you are a BCAA or an Evolve member, you can head down to their app and look at the different locations where you can rent an e-cargo bike or use it for the day free of charge as a BCAA Evolve member. That will be in the District of North Vancouver at some of our libraries and other participating locations.
Well, thank you again.
Cool.
It's been really great talking to you.
Thanks, Kate. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining me today. And if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them below in our Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can be 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There's a range of different tiers you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month. Or if you pay yearly, just under $11 a year. A huge welcome to our newest supporters: Bree Crockford, Cap, Christian Bual, Everything on a Babagel, Pitcher Ian, and Brett Chandler. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your week of fame. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at. Address is also down below. And if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store in the down below too. We've got some great content coming up, so make sure you've subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we think this one is also well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving!